There's something I want to remind people about when it comes to trauma bonds, because that is what we're seeing unfold with Taylor and Dakota. The reason why the conversation of why does she keep going back, why does the victim keep going back, it's because of the trauma bond. And when you're in a trauma bond, you're in your trauma brain. You are not thinking logically, you are not making choices that are logical, you're not even making choices that are healthy. You can know both consciously and subconsciously that your partner is terrifying. You can know that your partner is like controlling, emotionally and psychologically abusive, and yet for whatever reason the trauma bond makes you believe that you cannot do life with anyone but that person. You will make stupid choices and you will do things like what we've seen, where Taylor has blown her chance and her opportunity with the Bachelorette franchise. It's because she's in her trauma brain. And one of the things that I've been talking about since getting out of my abusive relationship is part of the reason why I was ever able to come to that conclusion and make that choice, because I was working in an environment that was so healthy and so safe that eventually over time I could no longer ignore the contrast. So when we as people on the outside are frustrated, disappointed, and upset that the person that we care about continues to go back to somebody that we know is wrong, that we know is unsafe and unhealthy, we cannot replicate, we cannot engage in the same type of behaviors that their partner engages in, because with their unsafe person, they bond closer to them. It's almost like a sense of defiance. And then they revolt from the people that they think are being judgmental, that they think are overstepping their boundaries, when we're saying he's no good for you, he's a jerk, he's a dirtbag, whatever. There's a weird sense of defiance that we as survivors engage in, and a lot of it is tied to the trauma bond, but also tied to the idea that we don't want to give up on the relationship. If we give in to these thoughts, these ideas that this person is a jerk and a dirtbag and what are we doing with them, then in essence, we've been investing in a relationship that's it's not viable, it's not worth it. She's got a child. For whatever reason, we get so fixated on the grass is greener effect with this person that we can't even think logically or reasonably make healthy and safe choices, because we are so hung up on whatever fantasy that we think is going to be on the other side of all of this chaos and all of this turmoil. Being in such a healthy and safe work environment, what ended up happening is that eventually over time, I felt like I was leaving reality whenever I was going home. I felt like I was coming back into reality whenever I would come into work. And the reason for that is that at home, even low risk conflicts were starting to become high risk for me. My voice was meaningless and getting more and more meaningless over time. Basically, if I were to say something like, I don't like the cinnamon in our coffee, because that was the thing, is that I made one mistake with making coffee and suddenly I was never allowed to make coffee again. They took over making the coffee every morning. If I let them know, like, I don't like the cinnamon you put in the coffee, then that was even a threatening conversation. That was even something that became high risk for me to address, because the control and the power dynamics were becoming so intense that it was almost as if my presence should only be about gratitude and appreciation for what my person was allowing and what my person was offering. So eventually, over time, I was starting to become nervous at work, even about presenting, the idea that there was an issue happening. Like something's not working or something is happening that shouldn't be happening and now we need to problem solve. I was starting to get really nervous and scared to do that, even about simple things in the workplace. And then the wild part is that no matter how high risk those were at work, I was always treated with such care, compassion, and it was never this catastrophic conflict. It was never a catastrophic situation that I presented something that needed to be problem solved. And so I started to realize that it was really safe and really healthy at work. And when I was going home, everything was unsafe. And eventually I could no longer ignore that. So I try to remind people, if you are somebody who's advocating for somebody like Taylor, we cannot replicate the behaviors that our person engages in. We cannot use anger. We cannot use judgment. We cannot use the fear, obligation, or guilt dynamics. We have to be grounded. We have to be safe. We have to be compassionate, because that's the only way that eventually they will start to understand how dark it is with this person, and then how healthy and light it is when we're with the people that actually care about us and actually care about our safety and our well-being. It's really hard. It's a big ask, but I think it's one of the most powerful things for me to have experienced. And I know that it's going to take a lot for anybody who stays in Taylor's life to engage in that way. But truthfully and honestly, we always say that we would do anything for the people that we love and care about, and this is one of those times.